And hello everyone, welcome to another Let's Play. This is Myrokos, and today we will be beginning finally the Endwalker 6.0 MSQ. If you like what you see at any point, please like, share, and subscribe on YouTube, give me a follow on Twitch, hit the notification bells, and let me know what you think. So first things first, let's talk to everybody because they're in different positions. Much more have we discovered of the Telefori's machinations since Thancred and I did return from Garlemald. Verily, their troops doth appear to have been tempered in much the same manner as those engaged in the construction of the towering edifice in the capital. Interesting. When Arnvald tried to free the Amalja held in the tower, it triggered some sort of alarm, and the captives were killed instantly. As such, we have no choice but to leave them in the clutches of the Telephoroi until a means of rescuing them has been found. Yeah, that's terrible news for the captives in the towers. In the meantime, the summonings of lunar primals will continue, just as we must rely on the Grand Company of Eorzea to put down such entities and prevent any further abductions. So too do they rely on us to come through with our investigation. Whatever it is my father and the Forum are hiding, I am determined to get to the bottom of it. Of course, Alizé is. Those who are brought within close proximity of the towers are tempered into serving Garlemald, then forced to summon lunar primals with ether drawn from the land. But even having understood this, we are yet to uncover what the Telephori wish to achieve by all of this. Are the towers purely strategic, purely for strategic advantage, or do they serve some other purpose? Ooh. That's a good point, especially since some of the towers aren't exactly in good locations of real strategic import. I mean, yeah, we can see one if you go to Dravanian Forelands. You can see one poking up there, but the closest major settlement was the Sharlayan colony, now known as Idleshire, by the locals, and that doesn't seem to have any strategic importance. So, and then there's the one in Pagalthan, which outside of proximity to the Amalja doesn't really have a logistical purpose either, or not logistic, a strategic purpose. Yeah, so what are they? Oh, they're all, I guess the others are out to the field. I have conveyed Lord Amaric's wishes to Coltene and the others. For the present, their role will be to facilitate communication between our allies and gather information on our enemy. Okay, so that's why they're all there. Or they're not here. Not only do the members of the Forum intend to adhere to their long-standing policy of non-intervention, they made a point of sending Master Fortuno here to explicitly state the fact. Rather than simply refusing to involve themselves in our affairs, it would appear they are actively trying to prevent us from meddling in theirs. That does, of course, make Kryle's mission of securing our entry into Sharlayan nigh on impossible, but I am confident that she will find a way regardless. After the end of the Dragonsong War, I spent many a moon roaming Kugane, Radzatan, even Garlemald, but never Sharlayan. In all honesty, a nation populated entirely by bookish types like Alphino is not a place that appeals to me. Yeah, that wouldn't... Then again, you didn't really like being in Ishgard that much either, from what I recall. I have a feeling the journey to Charlene is going to be quite the test of your nerves in more ways than one. You'll miss this place while you're away, I just know it, but for now, the best thing you can do is get plenty of rest while we wait to hear from Kryle. Already been doing that. Actually been busy kind of helping Kryle on something else with Eureka off stream. Which in a way was a good thing, because, well, the general storyline I found was kind of meh. I mean, it was intriguing, but the leveling grind was a bit annoying. On the other hand, I got this sweet elemental glam, which I must say I kind of like. I know it's got a glowing phase with elemental +1, but I still have to unlock Hydatos for that. If you want me to do Hydatos on stream or as a, and then later as a part of my Let's Play, let me know in the comments or in stream chat below. I'll make note of that. In the meantime, I've got my glowing weapon. It may not be the final version, but it is a glowing weapon. And, oh, you know, I still need to do the Shadowbringer's world quest. Or, not the world quest, the Master world quest. I'll do that later. I want to do MSQ now. The next ship to sail. Alphino is feeling the need to take stock. Myrokos, do you have some time to talk? Sure. I would like to gather everyone in Dawn's respite and together assess the situation in which we find ourselves. Let us take stock of the facts, shall we? The facts. Yeah, shall we? The crisis at hand began with the sudden appearance of ominous towers in a multitude of locations throughout the world. We have since learned that said structures were brought into being by an organization known as the Telophoroi. The Telophoroi's stated purpose is to recreate the final days of eons past. An apocalyptic event that would result in the destruction of all we hold dear. Already have these towers of theirs been the cause of untold suffering. Countless innocents kidnapped and imprisoned, their faith perverted for primal summoning. And unless we find a way to deal with the corruptive aura surrounding the spires, we can't even get close enough to rescue anyone. Those shielded with the blessing of light seem able to resist being tempered, at least. But after what happened to Auenwald and Fordola, we need to be very, very careful about how we proceed. Yet while these threats close to home are of paramount concern, we mustn't lose sight of the situation in Garlemald. As you know, the Telophoroi are under the leadership of Fandaniel and one other delightful fellow, Xenosier Galvis, the Crown Prince, and our dear friend. To date, he's reclaimed his old body, murdered Emperor Varus, and plunged Garlemald into an even deeper pit of chaos. The capital has probably seen the worst of it for a good while there. It saw the bloodiest fighting in the War of Succession, but that has since changed, and in troubling ways. During our reconnaissance, the air was not once rent by the barking of cannons or the cries of discord. 'Twas an eerie fog of silence which did blanket that ruined city. The inhabitants appeared to have been tempered with narier words spoken. Did they labor to transform the palace into a soaring edifice born of nightmares? If they were indeed made thralls, it seems safe to assume that these events, too, were orchestrated by the Telophoroi. An army of primals is awful enough, but in light of recent developments, I fear it is only the prelude to an prelude to an even greater catastrophe. We need to devise a means to counter this threat, and quickly, before our allies are overwhelmed. We will find a way to in Sharlayan, I am sure of it. Master Fortuno's comments regarding the final days were curious, to say the least. The Forum knows more than it is letting on. Sorry to interrupt. We've just received word from Mistress Kryle. She says that arrangements for your visit have been finalized. You're to head to Limsa Laminsa and board the next ship bound for Sharlayan. Ooh, that quickly. And on arrival, present yourself as associates of the students of Baldessian, come to assist with the Order's restoration. Haven't I already been doing that with Eureka? I suppose so. And of course, Graha is a member of the students of Baldessian. The arrangements may be settled, but what of your thoughts? They must race at the prospect of returning home after so long. I am eager to see it, of course. We should set off at once. He's still miffed about his dad disowning him. And Alizé. Then I'll accompany you to the docks. You need at least one person there to wave and cry and wish you a safe journey. Okay, Limsa Laminsa lower decks. Let's go. It's daylight already, okay? Of course, it's fog. Oh well. Hopefully the, yeah, of course it's foggy. Of course it is. Okay, what a grim reason to bring you to Sharlayan. Not much to be done about it, I suppose. But I would have liked to give you the grand tour under happier circumstances. Though a part of me looks forward to returning home, I've not forgotten that my father stripped us of the privileges of our family name. I hope it doesn't cause trouble with the officials upon our arrival. I might have lived in Master Motori's cave for a good part of my life, but even for me, the thought of returning to Sharlayan is quite exciting. I can hardly imagine how it is for the others who lived most of their lives there. Contrary to what you think, this will be like going home for me as well. I may have learned how to survive in Limsa, but it was in Charlene where I was taught, quite relentlessly, I might add, the skills to properly live. Really? I shudder to think what manner of truth awaiteth us beyond the indigo deep. Still more do I dread the prospect of discussions long overdue. Scrahate of fanboying still. I never thought the day would come when I would be sailing home again. It always seemed so very far away. Although he was born in Corvus, wasn't he? But then again, I suppose he views Charlene as home. Speed travel can be tedious, but I don't mind it. It is a rare experience for most Ishgardians. I wonder if I can get a look at... Actually, before I continue, I'm kind of worried about the weather. So let's see if I can look at... I don't know if I can look at Charlene's weather from the... the Skywatcher. Oh, now it's snowing. Will be fair skies later. Oh, I mean, it is pretty far north, so I suppose that makes sense. Doesn't hurt to check. I mean, it's foggy here, so I'm not going to have the best departure. I mean, I'm just having visions of the ship heading right into fog and not being able to see it, but okay. Everyone's here, which is good because I've already paid for your passage and the fee is non-refundable. Yikes. The ship for Charlene should be pulling into port soon, so please follow me and have all your luggage close at hand. Oh my. Do we need carry-on bags? Well, most of our stuff is in steerage. But then again, I suppose my Chocobo saddlebag is a carry-on bag of sorts. And then I've got my inventory. I should be set. Ooh, sunny. Or these partly cloudy or fair skies. Is that Momozigo? Was that Momozigo? In Limsa? Last I left him, he was in Ul'dah.
They've almost finished loading our cargo. We should be ready to depart right on schedule. Or so I'm told.
Voice acting. Love it.
Excellent. 'Tis nice to have a smooth beginning to one's journey, at the very least.
It's funny. Master Louis Soir came here on a ship very much like this one. And now, years later, the street urchin he befriended that day is bound for his mentor's homeland. With his mentor's grandchildren, no less.
Aye. 'Tis upon reflection that every twist of time's river and fate's whims are brought into sharp relief. Thou hast matured much in the intervening years. Wert thou not caught attempting to relieve Master Louis Soir of his purse scant moments after he made landfall upon this dock?
Oh! That's interesting.
Really? Now that's a tale I'd like to hear.
Me too.
Will this be your first visit to Charlene, Sir Estinian?
Sir Estinian? God, he's gone formal.
Sir Estinian?
A
we strangers newly met? Why this stiff formality?
I, merely meant it as a professional courtesy, since we are now colleagues in an official sense.
I'd rather you dispense with the sirs, especially in private company. Or I'll be forced to respond in kind, little Lord Alphino.
You've made your point, Estinian. Painfully well.
Oh, that's good.
Better.
Are you all right, Tataru? You seem positively distraught.
Distraught? Me? Don't be silly. I think it's lovely that they get to see their homeland.
But Tataru was born in Uldar, wasn't she?
We're trying to thwart the schemes of an army hellbent on destroying the world. And once again, I have to stay behind and worry that this is the last time I'll get to see my friends.
No. I'll bring them back safe and sound, I promise. No sense worrying about the things we're powerless to change. Yeah, I'll bring them back. I always do.
I'll hold you to that.
Ah, good. You're still here.
Hori! Kultine! What brings you all this way?
We're to assist the Maelstrom and the Kobolds with a lunar primal operation, so we thought we'd see you off before heading to the tower. Flamine and the others wish you all a safe journey, and promise that they'll look after things here until you return. We will too, of course. Aye, we, your fellow Scions of the Seventh Dawn, will do our part to ensure the end of the world won't happen on our watch.
We're set to sail! All aboard for Sharlayan!
It's time.
Then we must delay no longer. We will contact you the moment we learn aught of value. Wish us luck.
Have a safe journey, and please, please, be careful.
You know I always am. I'm always careful, aren't I? I am so glad I worked to get the elemental gear. I wish I could get it glowing, but I'll just have to work on that on the side.
And so you venture forth unto the unknown. A fate beyond the horizon that cannot be divined. A future undefined and in flux.
Oh, that voice.
In uncertain times, naught but the simplest words of wisdom will suffice. That which lives is destined to die. Love leads to loss. Every beginning has an end. Treasure every moment, every step of your descent. And there, in the depths where souls and stars rest, find your truth.
I did not expect that voice. Here we go. I like the fact that our icon is still the mother crystal. Like, is that the Scion's official logo? The mother crystal? I guess so. Oh. Oh, that music. Right in the feels.
Feel. Think.
The day has barely dawned, my fellow earlier riser. Though we're hardly alone in that. Envious of those still sleeping soundly.
Oh, this is like 1.0, isn't it? Are these going into Limsa? Albeit into Charlan.
Called out to you, you say? I've heard nothing myself. In any case, I dare say the sea air will do you good. Why not join the others on deck? Charlian should be coming into view at any moment.
And just like the start of Around Reborn, the twins are sound asleep. Oh, there she is.
My voice yet reaches you. I am glad. Hear, feel, think. And thus do we meet face to face at last. My warrior of light, guided by the crystal.
Why now, Hydaelyn? I can trust your words no longer. Ooh. I'm curious about why now, of all times.
After your sojourn in the First, I believe you have your answer. You have gained an understanding of what I truly am, what Hydaelyn has always been, a primal. Zodiac was created to forestall the apocalypse which threatened the ancient world, and I was brought forth to bind him. Yet 7 times now, those who would orchestrate a return to that bygone era have rejoined a shard to the god I had sundered. The greater his strength grows, the swifter does mine own diminish. The power to draw your mind into the rift betwixt is no longer mine to wield. Yet though it taxes me sorely, I dare not leave these words unsaid. Even bereft of my guidance, you and your companions have accepted the burden of this star's troubled past. A conjunction has begun to form. An intertwining of your time and mine. Wheels shudder and turn. Conflict looms. Monumental. Which will decide the fate of this world and all life upon it. When you truly understand what is at stake, and your journey has prepared you to surmount the insurmountable, then shall I honor the promise made in another time, another age.
Cast your peepers to the fore, folks. Sharlayan's just over yonder.
I will not keep you further. Your traveler's heart must yearn to behold this unfamiliar land. We shall meet again, and soon.
Oh, what a fine morning. Oh, still a bit stiff though.
And a good morning to you too. Taking a look at the island already?
Nope, just
Let's
about.
go. Let's go. Might still be room in the prow if we're lucky.
Yeah, I was literally on my way there.
Ah, the sleepers have arisen.
Oh, they were already up.
There she is. Good old Sharlayan.
Oh, I see it.
Home. Home at last. Well, maybe not in Father's eyes. But we'll manage on our own, if we must.
You do know you're not alone in this, don't you?
Indeed. 'Tis as Sir Estinian said. Forget not the comrades who boarded this ship at your side, I prithee.
Thank you, my friends. We are ever grateful for your steadfast support.
Upon arrival, we will be disembarking into the heart of Sharlayan proper. There is no greater concentration of wisdom in all the world. I am confident that somewhere within that center of knowledge and learning, we will find the answers we seek.
Dawn of a new day, or oh, there's the moon. Welcome to Endwalker, boys and girls. Let's go.
Sharlayan, the solitary island nation of the northern seas. Where under the watchful gaze of Thaliak, patron deity of scholars, academics hoard all manner of knowledge and secrets. Once, they deigned to accept foreign students into a distant colony maintained in the Dravanian hinterlands. How swiftly they abandoned it once the first Garlean boot set hostile foot on Alamegan soil. So averse to the prosecution of war, these men of wisdom, your would-be allies.
I thought they'd never let us off the ship. What's next then? Entry applications?
Hopefully they find no cause to deny us.
Hasn't Sharlayan all but severed relations with foreign powers? Those of us without direct ties, myself included, may be refused outright.
That's a good point.
'Tis true that, as a nation, Sharlayan only forms trade agreements with a select few neutral countries. But from a practical standpoint, an island cannot afford to be overly strict with its borders, especially not if that island's people are wholly devoted to the accumulation of knowledge. If one submits the proper paperwork, with satisfactory evidence of identity and intent, then foreigners may be granted entry.
May.
Quite. So let us be absolutely clear on these points before we proceed. The immigration officer will ask for your affiliation and your purpose of visit. Considering Sharlayan's views on intervention, I strongly suggest we avoid any mention of the Scions. Kral has laid the groundwork for us to act as associates of the students of Baldessian, and our ostensible reason for being here is to aid in their order's restoration. Grahatir, it might expedite our progress should an actual student be seen at the head of our little group. Would you mind leading the way?
Of course. The immigration offices were this way, as I recall. Shall we? Greetings. We've just arrived and are eager to make our way into the city. Would you be so kind as to process our entry applications?
Certainly. I see by your mark you are an Archon.
I am. Grahatir of the Students of Baldessian at your service. I was assigned to an Eorzean survey team, but have returned to assist with the reformation of my order. My associates here will provide additional support.
Very good. I have paperwork detailing your group and its scheduled arrival for today. And it seems some few of your companions are also Archons. If you'll step forward, we can process those applications first.
Ishtola rule.
Interesting.
See how it glows? That list is etherically linked with the citizen registry kept in the main repository.
I've confirmed your status as Archons and amended your travel records accordingly. Welcome home. Now, who do we have here?
Alphino Leveilleur.
And Alize Leveilleur.
Your applications have also been approved. Having said that, the streets are abuzz with talk of how House Leveilleur's lord disowned his young progeny. And while such personal circumstances constitute no reason to deny you entry, I urge you to avoid exacerbating your present situation. Times are quite troubled enough already.
We shall keep that in mind.
These last two are not Sharlayan natives, but you will find their credentials are in order. An application was made in advance.
Name and occupation?
Ooh. This is a bureaucrat. We better keep it straight and level. I am an artisan. Champion of Eorzea is a little much. Yeah.
An adventurer. Well, I suppose that is considered a valid calling in your native Eorzea, and it does indeed match the profile provided. You may enter. And you, sir?
Estinian Varlano, formerly of the Order of the Knights Dragoon in Ishgard.
Formerly, at least. And what, pray tell, is your profession now?
Varlano. Uh-oh. What is your profession, Estinian?
If you'll allow me. My associate is a mercenary, hired for his strength at arms. Surely you are aware of the dangers we often face on our forays into the wilderness.
Mistress Baldessian, if you insist on sponsoring his entry, then so be it. But while I appreciate that desperate times call for desperate measures, I find your choice of company concerning. Be advised that even a single misstep may have severe repercussions for your organization.
I have every confidence in my chosen company, dear and trusted comrades that they are. But I thank you for your concern.
Croyle, it is good to see you.
Likewise. Long voyage notwithstanding, you will seem none the worse for wear. There is much to discuss, but this is hardly the place. Let's be on our way, shall we? Oh! Welcome, friends, to Sharlayan.
As your mercenary, I should hope my welcome includes a generous salary.
Well, I had to say something, Sir Taciturn.
I am unaccustomed to fabricating lies on demand. Why should it matter how I earn my living? Because we were dealing with a bureaucrat, and you needed to be honest, at least as much as possible. Here we are at last. The great city of Charlene. You may have noticed some similarities with Crystarium, yes? In fact, but we really should let Kryl have her say first. We can continue this conversation another time. You are doubtless eager to take in the sights. No, not to worry, Myrokos. The city is not like to vanish before we finish our discussion. Even allowing that the years I spent in the first passed here in the blink of an eye, the city feels untouched by time. Allow me to extend unto thee my warmest welcome, Myrokos. May the wisdom of my homeland aid us in our endeavors. I'm fine, honestly. Better to be waved through with a stern warning than be denied entry after all. True enough. That was about as awkward and as awkward as expected. Still, we are here now, and that's all that matters, indeed. I'm glad I spotted your ship coming into port. The officers are born bureaucrats and sticklers for detail. In any case, you may relax and take a moment to get your land legs back. Okay, I don't think anybody's got... Yeah, nobody has extra dialogue, it looks like. Old Charlene, new to you. Kryl sweeps the scions with a speculative look. Of course, I've got 530 gear. For the most part. If I get a ring that's of slightly better item level, I may upgrade. I had thought to launch directly into an explanation of what I've learned and how we might proceed. This is Myrokos and Destinian's first time in Charlene, and for the rest of you, a homecoming that was long overdue. You must have places you wish to visit and people you're dying to see. Therefore, I propose we postpone our agenda so that you may have sufficient time to recover from your journey and get your bearings in the city. Once you've settled in, we can reconvene at the Baldezian Annex. How does that sound? 'Tis a fine suggestion. We may not be welcome at the Livier estate as such, but I should like to nose around the neighborhood all the same. I am equally untethered, as it were. There is no particular place that my kin call home. Still, I would not pass up the opportunity to reacquaint myself with the city. Likewise, a tour of our old haunts might even yield some useful gossip. Ever the spy. The annex was west of the Aetheroid Plaza, wasn't it? I shall join you there anon. We'll see you there. I too have places I would be remiss in not visiting forthwith, by thy leave. What of you, Estinian? My services as a guide are yours for the asking. That won't be necessary until we reconvene. I prefer to wander as the wind takes me. But I could... Oh... Well, Raha, would you like to join us then? You've been gone for quite a while, and this would be the perfect way to refresh those dusty old memories of yours. Oh, of course, if you will have me. Come, Myrokos. Charlian awaits. None of my crafting or gathering professions are at this level. Not yet. Oh dear, his enthusiasm is infectious, isn't it? Summoning bell there, that's good to know. Ah, Ethernet shard. Excuse me as I run over into tune. Always the tune at Aetherites. Oh dear, his enthusiasm is infectious, isn't it? After you, my friend, I am more than content to follow your lead. Grahatia is now accompanying you. Keep him at your side in order to proceed with quest objectives. Oh, this is new. In the event you use the Ethernet, Grahatia will catch up with you as long as you remain in the same area. You can leave Grahatia behind, however, by entering a different area. You may also speak with him and select the option to part ways. If you wish to have Grahatia accompany you again, return and speak with him at the original location. While Grahatia is accompanying you, next try speaking with Kryl. All set? Then let us be on our way. Our first stop, amusingly enough, will be the last stand. The last stand. I think I'm having trouble pronouncing things. It's a cafe on the west side of the harbor. Kryl is now accompanying you. Lead your two companions to the last stand and speak with Kryl at the designated location. While you are accompanied, you may encounter conversation points along the way which offer additional topics of discussion. Enter the glowing area and speak with your quest companions to initiate these bonus conversations. Enjoy exploring your surroundings together. Okay? Ooh, speaking of which, there's this one over here. The leave meet. Not that I will... Okay. I'm grateful to have Kryl's help in reacquainting myself with this place. It's almost as if I'm seeing it all with new eyes, as you are. With all the usual wares coming and going at all hours, I expect the assistance of an intrepid adventurer would be highly appreciated. I see no reason why you couldn't undertake any tasks which pique your interest. If you have been cleared by the immigration, officials after all. I look forward to the day your name is celebrated in Charlian the same way it is in Eorzea. Given the way the forum's going, I don't know how well that's going to go. This place is called the Peristyle, and is the first stop for cargo unloaded at the docks. You'll find the usual necessities for daily living and other imports vital to running an island nation, but also supplies that further Charlian's pursuit of knowledge, namely large quantities of books, specimens, and samples. Sorting these stacks certainly seems to keep the attendants busy. Come on, let's head to the cafe. It may not seem so at a glance, but the last stand is actually a very important part of the city. Huh. Now that is a sight one could hardly forget. The great statue of Thaliak. As a student of Baldesian, I was usually quartered on the Isle of Val, but I would gaze upon the scholar's wise features every time I returned by ship to the city. Yeah, the Isle of Val has certainly seen better times. This path leading out towards the sea is known as the Thaliac Stoa, so named for the statue of the scholar which stands at its end. As you know, the Charlene people prize the accumulation of wisdom above all else. Thus, when Thaliac was chosen as our patron deity, it was more a matter of pragmatism than belief, an alignment of principles, as it were. We may have honored him with a rather impressive sculpture, yes, but our faith is not so restrictive as that of, say, the Ishgardians. Individual Charlene can and do worship the divinities of their choosing. Ooh. Okay. Ah, yes, the last stand. Now that is an inviting aroma. And here we are, the last stand. I may have mentioned this before, but although our research into nutrition and food preparation is quite extensive, the average Charlene tends to regard seasoning and flavor with a certain indifference. How can I put this? The food is, it's bland. And as encapsulated by our infamous Archon loaf, the prevailing sentiment towards cuisine is dietary value first and taste a distant second. There was one pupil at the studium, however, who could stomach the school's insipid meals no longer, so he quit his lessons and poured all his savings into building a proper eatery. And so the last stand came to be. It is, as the name implies, the sole dedicated outpost of fine dining in Charlene. The one and only bastion of the culinary arts in the Isle of otherwise mediocre fare. I seem to recall their burger being hailed as one of the more impressive items on the menu. Not that I ever had the pleasure of eating one myself. Because you were a typical Charlene when it came to cheap and convenient. But surely Tatar has since taught you how to appreciate a well-prepared dish. We should all stop in when time permits and sample the cafe's delights. Shall we press on? The stairs to the side of the cafe. There will take us up to the Aetheryte Plaza. So I guess this way? Especially with multiple steps. Of course, Atune, Mastatune. The Aetheryte looks different from how I remember it. Really? This is different? It wasn't always this way? It certainly looks very Charlene. Of course, they would have the time and attention to carve it intricately. An unusual shape, isn't it? I assure you, however, that it's a perfectly functioning aetheryte. Remember to attune yourself before we move on. I already did. Now, being a diligent tour guide that I am, I should make mention of the Confluence, a research facility located on this very plaza. Oh god, you had to say Confluence. I've been harvesting those in Eureka for you for days. Okay, its much vaunted discoveries are the reason Charlene stands at the forefront of teleportation technology. In deciphering the underlying principles of Allegan aetherytes, it allowed us to understand and reconstruct what was essentially a lost art. And off we go to our next destination. Our path leads northeast to the Agora. Charlene's largest marketplace. So... Oh, so the Confluence is there. Speaking of aetherytes, those teleportation fees do add up after a while, which is why I tended to rely on the cheaper ferry services. I was pleasantly surprised when Mr. Statar informed me that the Scions are reimbursed for transportation costs as part of our duties, but I find old habits hard to break. That, and I'd rather not be bothered filling out the necessary paperwork. Oh, so all of these... excuse me. So all of these fees I've been paying are Charlene taxes. Do I have a 1090? Like, or a W-2? Can I file... Do I have to file taxes with Charlene? That's the entrance to the Confluence. I have no doubt their expertise will prove useful at some point, so I suggest you remember the way here. Okay. Might as well, yeah, especially from Mogholm. God, that was a while ago. Do you mind if I browse the shelves for a moment? There might be some hidden gems I have yet to read. Only a moment? How optimistic. Feel free to browse all you like, but we won't wait around for you. Perhaps I'll return here later then. Oh, nice. So I guess... So what's the deal? But what's the deal with the bookstalls? I'm curious. Anything worth cracking my coin purse for today, I wonder? Huh. Welcome to the Agora. Where you can find wares made in Charlene, as well as a wide selection of imported goods. So this is the open-air marketplace. They also used to sell questionable prototypes from the various research institutes, but I think that practice has thankfully died out for the most part. Otherwise, I can think of no better place to stock up for your next big adventure. Am I overselling it? On a more serious note, the next stop on our tour is one which has particular relevance to our ultimate purpose here. We must head back to the Aetherite Plaza and follow the path north, then climb the stairs to that imposing building at the very top. Lovely. Oop. These little decorative features are typical of Charlian architecture. Aside from the research wing, our headquarters on the Isle of Val was rather simple and rustic by comparison. Yeah, I know, I've seen what's left of the huts. Discuss the water features, okay? This is the Nymphaeum, an area dedicated to the blessings of water. For Charlians, water represents more than a life-sustaining liquid. It is a reminder of the Great Flood, which precipitated, poor choice of words there, the birth of our nation, as well as a symbol of the knowledge which flows from Thaliak's divine ewer. This is the reason you see an abundance of fountains throughout the city and a propensity for utilizing water as a decorative feature in our architecture. Huh. Ah, what an invigorating breeze. A touch biting, perhaps, but pleasant nonetheless. This grand structure before you is the rostra. The name refers to the original public platform erected here, upon which a forum of elected representatives would deliver orations and debate policy. Although the stage has since evolved into council chambers, the nature of the forum and the duties of its members remain largely unchanged. Am I boring you, Raha? You seem awfully distracted. My apologies. From here one can see the entire city spread out below. Ooh. Okay. The vista put me in mind of my arrival in the first. Those who had gathered at the Crystal Tower asked me how they might go about building a new home. Naturally, my answers were all inspired by my knowledge of the finest settlement I could think of, the great city of Charlian. And bit by bit, those few buildings grew into a town, a community, the Crystarium. I can almost see its echo. I see. Feel free to come up here whenever you wish. I don't think the counselors would object to you simply enjoying the view. Such memories should be treasured. For now, however, the tour must go on. Our spectacle of sightseeing concludes with the fittingly named Journey's End. Walking down the stairs to the east and continue straight ahead. Okay. So somebody's literally got a tower home and... What poor soul would live there? Is that an office instead? This neighborhood is home to the highest echelons of Charlian society. I never did feel comfortable enough to wander these streets on a whim. Huh. We've arrived at Journey's End. History tells us this is where those who put ashore with Archon Nyunkrip built their first homes. But isn't Nunkrip's Hope the ship that bore you here stranded in the peaks? So how did your ship get you here but then end up stranded in the middle of Garabania? In the present day, it serves as the residential district for the most important officials and the oldest Charlene families. You'll see that one mansion is clearly larger than its neighbors. That estate belongs to our friends from House Livier. All things considered, we should probably keep our distance for the time being. And with that, we bring our little Charlene tour to a close. I hope it has proven to be an entertaining and enlightening experience. Now shall we head directly to the Valdezine Annex? You remember the way, don't you, Raha? Let me think. We head down towards the harbor, cross the bridge, to our right, then follow the path below the Aetheryte Plaza. Correct. After you, Myrokos. Oh. Ethernet shard. Is there... Nope. Okay, so I guess we were supposed to come down this way. Right, we cross this bridge here, as I recall. Stick to the path and be careful not to end up back in the Aetheryte Plaza. Have I tired you with all this walking? Not to worry, I had rooms prepared for you at the annex. Just follow the path to the west side of the Aetheryte and we'll be there in no time. Charlene is full of educational and research institutions, but there are still professors who prefer to establish their own private practices. Not that I ever never attended the exclusive schools they run in these residences. Perhaps the twins could tell us more about them. Also, it's not just the Studium, there are other institutions here. Ah, the good old annex. I used to bunk there whenever I had business in the city proper. Like the time I came to submit the thesis for my Archon qualification. And here we are at the Aetheryte Plaza. This is it, the Baldesion Annex. As the joyous look on Raha's face has undoubtedly informed you, this is the Baldesion Annex. If you continue up the hill, you'll arrive on the doorstep of Phenomenon, but I think we've explored enough for one day. We can take you there another time. Inside with you then. Okay. I'm back, and I've brought Myrokos and Raha with me. Ah, you were right about the ship then. Hello, Graha, it's nice to see you again. This doesn't look like Ijika. Huh. And it's a pleasure to finally meet you, Myrokos. I've heard many a tale of your exploit. Ojika. Ojika Sunjika. It has been an age. Ojika. And then the one I've been dealing with on Eureka has been Ejika with an E. Or are these supposed to be the same people? They have different haircuts. Allow me to, and also slightly different garb. Allow me to introduce Ojika Sunjika, the administration officer for the students of Baldesion. He oversees the day-to-day business of the annex. You may recall meeting his cousin Ijika. Oh, so they're cousins. I had a feeling that the name was familiar. Oh yes, Eureka. I've read the initial reports. Quite a shock to hear what's become of the Isle. Do take care if you have the opportunity to rejoin the expedition. This place is like a second home for the students. The Isle of Val served as our main headquarters, of course, but we often had occasion to visit Charlene. Whether to make use of the city's research facilities, attend conferences, or procure supplies from distant shores. And the annex here was built to provide lodgings for our members while we were engaged in such activities. Ever since our former headquarters, along with the Isle itself, vanished, the annex has served as our base of operations, and yet it feels so empty with so many of us, so many lost to us. Our organization is a shell of its former self. The day will come when we will see the students rise again. But first, we must ensure that the Telophori fall. Oh, but wait, isn't the students of Baldesion one of the private? No, not private. It's one of the secondary ones. Yeah, that because like Grahatia never attended the studium, but he did join the students of Baldesion, learn from them, and worked for them in a work-study thing, and then was sort of coaxed into getting an Archon paper done, so he got it done, and yeah. Through the door on the left, there is the main hall where we can discuss our operations moving forward. Once everyone arrives, that is, you probably have time to rest before our discussions begin in earnest. I've had private quarters prepared for you in the Andron, so please feel free to make yourself at home. Ah, the nap rooms. Perfect for an afternoon doze. Oh, didn't mean to give you the wrong impression. The chambers are quite well appointed, far more so than some cheap roadside inn, you may be assured. 'Twas simply that we were often so busy with research or exhausted from journeys abroad that we would slip into the Andron just to steal a few winks. And thus they became known amongst the students as nap rooms, even if many such naps might last well into the following morning. Say the word and I'll be happy to show you to your chamber. Hopefully the others won't be too long in coming. I'll wait for you all in the main hall. Do you have paper? Okay, I haven't been to my room yet. So let me, I'll get back to reading that later. I haven't been to my room. Oh, I see what he means by papers. Papers, boxes, other things. Yep. Oh. So we have a glamour dresser. Wardrobe, bookshelves. Orchestrion. Set of gems. All the usual stuff. Do you have papers pasted on the walls of your room? 'Twas not unusual for occupants to pin up notes or documents and such, and then forget to take them when they went on their merry way. Sometimes it was quite deliberate, though. You might see complaints addressed to other members, or a thank you card for the engrossing literature someone left behind. Beloved traditions that I should know better than to dwell upon. If we are to create a future for the students of Baldessian and so many others, we must look to the days ahead. Huh. Feeling refreshed and alert, our colleagues should be wandering in soon, so I suggest we stay here and wait for them to join us.
Pray forgive me. I was delayed.
It's fine, Urianger. We're all here now.
Let's get down to business then, shall we?
Wait, where's the Stenian?
Come what may, we must prevent the Telophoroi's plans from coming to fruition. At present, I see two paths for gathering the information which may aid us in achieving that goal. The first involves an investigation into the change which has come over Sharlayan, not to mention the recent inscrutable behavior of the Forum. As most of you know, the 99 members of the Forum are elected from the general populace. This alone guarantees a plethora of opinion with regards to foreign policy. The bibliotheques, for example, are a group of conservatives which would have Sharlayan focus on recording history, while remaining entirely uninvolved in the making of it. And at the other extreme, we have advocates for proactive diplomacy and direct intervention. My grandfather Galef was one such member, as was Archon Louisois. Yet despite our diverse factions and philosophies, the recent vote to deny Eorzea's request for assistance was unanimous. Even more concerning was the fact that many cited other, more pressing duties as justification for their recalcitrance.
Fortuno's refusal in Gridania had those same undertones. 'Twas as if, having stared unblinking into the face of impending doom, he had simply turned away to pursue something more important. But what could that possibly be?
A mystery indeed, and one which I ask for your help to solve. Our future may depend on it. As for our second potential path, it concerns a request made directly to the students of Baldessian. Our organization was founded primarily to study strange and unexplained phenomena the world over. Mysterious relics and ruins, arcane disturbances, and so forth. Compared to our more isolationist Sharlayan colleagues, we have strong connections overseas, namely with scholars and academics who share our passion for the unknown. The request in question comes from one such acquaintance, Nidana, an alchemist residing in distant Thavnair. Her missive describes the sudden appearance of a tower, and the subsequent summoning of what I can only assume is a lunar primal.
Ooh, that's not good.
In response to this threat, the satrap of Radzat-Han, the individual who governs the city-state, has instructed the alchemists to find a means to deal with the spire.
The artisans of that land are heirs to an ancient tradition, one rather unlike that of their Uldan counterparts. It is possible, nay, probable, that they have gleaned truths unattainable by Eorzea or her Far Eastern allies.
They do, in fact, appear to have a strategy in mind, though it will require further research. To that end, they have requested an introduction to a capable warrior shielded by the blessing of light.
Me.
Assuming we divide our forces to pursue both of Kral's lines of inquiry, then having you join the group heading to Thavnair would seem the obvious choice. But the investigation in Sharlayan is of vital importance as well. Equal, I think, to the Thavnairian one, given that the fate of the world may hinge on the results of both.
Yes, it is quite the quandary. Though it is a great imposition and an altogether too common one, our efforts would be more likely to succeed were you to lead the charge on both fronts.
I got this.
You are indeed our champion. As to which task to tackle first, we will defer to your decision. Let us next decide how everyone else might best be assigned. As for myself, I shall continue what I've begun in Sharlayan. I should also like to steal the services of an Archon or two.
And thereby gain access to a greater range of reading material. I will help with that.
Allow me to offer my assistance. I have some small amount of experience in the field of research.
Alize and I would also like to help, if you would have us.
Anything to understand even a fraction of what our father and the Forum might be thinking.
Of course! The more the merrier.
Right. The rest of us will make the journey to Thavner. Thoughts? Objections?
I passed through Thavner on my way to infiltrate the Empire, and though I'm not qualified to give a guided tour, I did gain a sense of where things lie.
I'll be happy to have you along then. So for this group, it will be you, me, and Urianger.
Give me a moment afterwards, and I'll supply you with all the details of Nadana's request. Consider this hall our rendezvous point once our respective tasks are complete. May our investigations prove fruitful.
I still don't understand how the vote could be unanimous. What could possibly convince them all to turn their backs on Eorzea? If the Forum is intent on concealing its intentions, then a cursory investigation will avail us little. I suspect we will need to dig deeper and with the greatest of care. The process by which Forum members are elected is fair and equitable. Neither wealth nor social standing offers any advantages to a prospective candidate, but fairly elected or not, Mr. Matoya still found them all to be insufferable. Our tour of the city was a pleasant distraction. I feel more than ready now to tackle the challenges of the day. Though I have read much on the subject of Radzat-Han, this visit shall be my first. 'Twill be interesting to see how the Hanish mean to contend with the tower, different as their magical and ethereal, the magical and technological disciplines are. So it's back to Thavner. Had I known earlier, I would have considered more suitable attire. So he packed for Sharlan. Didn't realize he'd be going to Thavner. Okay. But what to do? It seemed the MSQ spoke first of the Thavner contingent. But I'm actually kind of curious about Sharlan. I'm actually kind of curious about exploring more of Charlan. So I think I'll do Charlan first. Although traditionally when the MSQ says, okay, you can split your direction, choose your path, but it has its preferred conditions, or its preferred path. I think I'll do Charlan. My mind was leaning towards Charlan from the start. Hitting the books, Kryl is intent on uncovering the reason behind the firm's inexplicable behavior. An unsettling change has come over Charlan, but together we will divine the underlying cause of the firm's callousness. As I mentioned before, however, questioning the counselors directly is a fruitless endeavor. They seem to have already come to a consensus as to what and how little they are willing to divulge. Which is why I began scouring Charlan's archive of historical records for any hint of a connection to the final days. Suffice it to say that progress has been slow. There are only so many dusty pages one can skim in a day, but now that I have this band of willing reinforcements, the search should proceed all the swifter. Let us reconvene outside Numenon, shall we? Exit the annex to the right, and you'll find the archives on the western edge of the woods. Yeah, the tour didn't come over here and ooh. And for specimens. Okay, I guess we My directions were easy to follow, I hope. In any case, you stand now before the doors of Numenon, Charlan's grandest collection of books and tomes. This building is actually only an entrance, and one of many in that, at that. For the archives of Numenon extend deep beneath the surface like the roots of a tree. The vast halls of the Great Google Library pale in comparison to Numenon's endless maze of subterranean chambers. Any citizen of Charlan is free to enter and peruse its shelves. Well, most of its shelves. On the Archons are afforded access to certain restricted vaults. I've dispatched Distola and Raha to investigate those. Meanwhile, Alize and Alphino will help me continue my research through the stacks open to the general public. Your status presents more of a problem. As a non-citizen, you are only permitted to browse the first floor here at the entrance. Even so, there should be a number of books which touch upon Charlan history or foreign policy. Your task will be to find and study the relevant publications. I promise you, a working knowledge of the subjects will make it far easier to spot the sort of clues we're looking for. Let us be about it, shall we? I've told the others to meet us at the stone benches over there once they've found some promising tomes. Happy reading. Either a net shard. That should be everything here. Or did I not get it on? Am I missing something? Because according to the map, that should... I didn't get... Oh, I didn't get Journey's End. Nor the Baldesian Annex. Oh boy. Sorry, gotta go back and get Ethernet shards. Just want to make certain I unlock everything. Sights of the End. Okay, so I need to unlock that to get the sightseeing log so I can get stuff in Endwalker. Didn't feel like reading that aloud since it was just unlocking more side content. The title on the spine reads, The Story of Charlene. Read the book? Sure. Long, long ago, on an island in the Northern Sea, there lived a Rogandan man by the name of Nunkrup. Nunkrup was a student of astrology, and he divined that a flood of terrifying proportions would soon sweep over the lands of Eorzea. So it was that he built a gigantic ship, assembled a crew, and set sail for that imperiled realm. The flood arrived as foretold, and to their horror, the strangely churning waters drove the people towards the ocean. It was there, however, that Nunkrup's crew hauled them aboard his ark, but the danger had not passed. A towering wave approached, threatening to smash the vessel to pieces. With only moments to spare, Nunkrup wove a mighty spell of teleportation and shifted the entire ship to safety atop Apalathia's spine. Oh, so that's how it got there. Refugees from the surrounding regions huddled there alongside them, but it was not long before disputes over the dwindling supply of food led to violence and bloodshed. Saddened by the sight, Nunkrup gathered to him his crew and his grateful passengers and abandoned the ark to those reddened peaks. They journeyed to the coast where they built a new ship, intent upon returning to the northern seas. They landed on the beach of an island and settled upon that very spot. That settlement prospered and grew, and in time became the city of Charlene we live in to this day. Huh. A red covered books, Roads of the Colony. Many years ago, on the banks of the Thaliak in the Dravanian hinterlands, a Charlene colony once thrived. Been there. The settlement was originally established as a mere outpost to study the ethereal sea in the year 1311 of the 6th astral era. Scholars dispatched to Eorzea found the facilities wanting, and their demands encouraged a gradual expansion in structures and services. As rumors spread of a growing community of academics, the area was further inundated with Eorzean students hoping to share in the renowned wisdom of the Charlanes. 50 years later, the Forum passed a motion to recognize what had become a flourishing town as an official Charlene colony. Eorzean residents took to calling the colony itself Charlene, which led to no small amount of confusion when discussions turned to the subject of the motherland. In response, some Charlene inhabitants, if pressed for a name, would simply refer to it as Emporium. Following the Exodus, however, goblins and treasure hunters claimed for themselves a corner of the abandoned colony and gave it yet another name, Idleshire. The following chapters go on to introduce the most prominent features of Idleshire. This book does not appear to contain additional information on the farm or cover the history of the Charlene motherland in greater detail. I feel like the first book that I read there was more of a children's book on the founding of Charlene. Blue covered book. An introduction to the heavens. Have you ever gazed at the skies above and contemplated the mysteries contained therein? I speak not of shifting cloud patterns, but of the vastness beyond, of the sun, who should be a capital S, and the twinkling tapestry of the night. Some think the dome above us to be a finite space, yet amongst the leading thinkers of our age, one scholar's depiction of a boundless sea of stars has firmly taken root. Alas, this heavenly sea remains an unreachable, unknowable destination. There are few indeed who can explain in satisfactory detail why our own star is believed to revolve around the sun. It was the technologies of Alag who came closest to understanding the laws which govern that starry abyss. It was they who launched Dalamud and sought to expand beyond our earthbound existence. Having read their ancient ambitions, I wonder, has your interest in this field of study waxed or waned? What if I were to tell you the eternal constellations were arranged differently in the distant past, that their positions continue to shift amongst imperceptibly but measurably as we journey into the future? Would it shock you to learn that the stars drift further and further apart, and many indeed do so forever? Are you eager to learn more? This book is on the wrong subject. Search for works which contain details on the forum or mention the history of Charlene. Yeah. So that I like astronomy, but well-worn manual, forever 20 summers, huh? Okay, let's try reading this. My beloved seekers of knowledge, have you ever put learning before your health? And, neglected to feed and rest your body as you should? I too once engaged in such foolish practices, but one night, engrossed in philosophical study, I had an epiphany. For all the world's mysteries that drive us to reckless abandon, we have so very few years of life in which to achieve our goals. Thus do I share with you this mantra: I am forever 20 summers young. The number itself is unimportant. You could be 19 or 23 or 40, whatever your age. Whatever age you are when you discover this manual, let it be the age you aspire to remain. This is not pertinent. Through mindful, healthy living, will you extend the time available to spend upon your chosen research another day, another moon, another summer, to grasp the greater truths you pursue? In the pages that follow, we will explore the secrets of maintaining one's physical condition from a biological, ethereological, and arcane viewpoint. Focus on the wrong subject. Yeah, I gathered that. Sorry, just had to blow my nose and figured you wouldn't want to hear that on in the stream and recording. Stewards of Wisdom. This sounds a little more promising. During the chaos of the Sixth Umbral Calamity, Archon Nimkrif, founder of Sharlayan, bore witness to the madness and savagery of men brought to the brink of despair. Upon raising a settlement on an island in the Northern Empty, he instructed his people thus: renounce the ways of war and pursue enlightenment through knowledge and reason. The Sharlayans took to heart the words of their savior and thenceforth served as stewards of wisdom. Upon a foundation of accumulated learning, they built a homeland unlike any other, a nation born from strength of minds rather than strength of arms. With knowledge of economics came shrewd trading, with knowledge of agriculture came bountiful crops. Engineering brought wells and sewers, ending squabbles over water. Wealth of expertise could be bartered for wealth in coin, and the more their wisdom spread throughout the world, the more mankind as a whole would thrive. And so it was that no matter the trials and tribulations of the age, the citizens of Sharlayan would live by their founders' teachings for the sake of a better tomorrow, for the sake of a brighter star. They would eschew the tools of war and with knowledge deliver the world. Huh. Okay. Ooh. Vantage point. Okay, so that was 2. Am I missing something? Time-worn tome. The voice of a growing city. Did I skip this one? Did I skip one? Let's see if I read this one. In the years which followed the founding of Sharlayan, civic policy and other matters of import were decided at the Ecclesia, a public forum at which every citizen was eligible to speak. As the city's population grew, however, this format became increasingly impractical. The larger number of participants gave rise to ever longer debates, resulting in significant delays of vital resolutions. Various measures were introduced in an attempt to curtail protracted discussions, but in the year 201 of the Sixth Astral Era, it was ultimately decreed that Sharlayan would transition to a new form of governance. The nation would now be led by a body of 99 members, citizens chosen from amongst their peers by means of a nationwide vote. This was the form as we know it today, conceived and created. You have gained fundamental understanding of Charlene history and found the foundation of the forum. Head outside to the rendezvous point and await your companions. Ah, I guess I did miss. Would that I could see the other floors, but oh well. We apologize for the inconvenience, but the reference desk is currently experiencing an unusually high volume of requests. Please stand by until this issue is resolved. Sorry, were you waiting long? No, not really. I wanted to make sure I borrowed at least a few promising volumes. Alphino and Krell should be along shortly. I was delayed in similar fashion. As far as I could see, no titles in the Archon stacks mentioned the final day specifically, so we have no choice but to start with the tangentially related tomes, if they are even that. At present, the plan is to skim through as quickly as we dare and share our discoveries as we make them. It would have been nice to invite everyone to the estate, plenty of comfortable places to read, and a ready supply of hot tea. Oh, I was quite fond of reading outside. But it's not about the little pleasures, is it? You miss your home. It's been difficult. After our arrival, we managed to speak with one of the family servants and ask how things were. It seems our dear father has instructed the staff that even if Alphino and I were to return to Charlene, we were not to be allowed across the threshold. A harsh measure indeed. I hope that our efforts to understand his position and that of the forum will perhaps lead to a reconciliation. We'll mend this rift one day, I am certain of it. And what of you, Graha? Have you been to visit your family, or do they not live here in the city? Well, my situation is also somewhat complicated. I was raised in Charlene, yes, but I was born rather further away. In the southern reaches of Ilsabard, in fact. For generations, my people have dwelt in Corvos, the coastal region opposite the island of Thavnair. I thought I recalled him being born in Corvos or near there. The Elegans founded a city in that fertile land, and by ship brought in the subjugated tribes of the Myrokos to serve as laborers. Of course, the massive earthquakes of the Fourth Umbral Calamity brought an end to the Empire's reign, and when the Fifth Calamity froze the sea solid, many of the tribes still living in Corvus braved the journey back to Eorzea. My ancestors, however, chose to remain, that they might prevent the remnants of Allagan technology from being misused. Isn't Corvus under Garlean rule? For the past 50 years, yes, some semblance of local culture remains, as is the case for most imperial provinces, but Garlemald renamed the region Locus Aeminus. Oh! Having done the Reaper questline, that helps explain a few things. When I was a boy, a nearby town came under the jurisdiction of an illustrious imperial family, the nobles of House Darnus. Darnus? As in Nail Van Darnus? Ooh. House Darnus demonstrated a singular interest in Allegan civilization, and so my tribe was forced to consider a plan of action. For some time already, voices had been raised in favor of abandoning our ancient customs. After all, the Allegan no longer passed to our eldest children as reliably as it once had. Fear of discovery eventually tipped the scales, and the decision was made to bury our ties to the knowledge and traditions of Allag. As the last child born with the Allegan I was given over to the custody of friends and the students of Baldesion, who had me registered as a Charlene citizen. I never even considered... Forgive me, it was an unkind question. Even Thancred was taken in by Archon Louisoix, was he not? Stories of adopted waifs and rescued orphans are more common among Charlians than you might think. Yet regardless of our origins, we are all provided with an equal opportunity to learn, and with sufficient perspicacity, we considered even we outsiders can even earn the vaunted title of Archon. It is exactly why I have such love for this country, and why I wish it to remain a nation of which its citizens can be proud. Hear, hear, another good reason to get to the bottom of the form's stubbornness. Aside from the trifling matter of our impending doom. Excuse us while we try to make some headway into these books, Myrokos. More company should be arriving any moment now. There are others better suited to poring over history books, so I thought I might try my luck with more recent events. If I can find anything better to better inform the firm's baffling behavior. What else do I know of Corvus? Precious little, I'm afraid. I've not returned since Master Galuf first brought me here. Oh, so Master Galuf was the one who brought him here. I can tell you that Corvosi rebels still seek to slip the yoke of their imperial masters, though the fighting is far less fierce than it once was. Oh, and they have carpets. Flying carpets. The legends are quite extraordinary. Huh. Flying carpets? Is this like the mounts that I've seen running around? We've returned with our selections. Although I must say the pickings were quite slim indeed. Mistress Kryl has already flicked through every history book devoted to disasters, and more than a few which barely made mention of them. As such, we will be looking into research papers on the Umbral calamities, as well as articles written by prominent forum members. Perhaps their knowledge of the final days comes from an unexpected source. Speaking of which, might I ask you a few questions related to the final days? I'm the only one here who didn't witness the events of Amarot firsthand, and fear I may be overlooking critical details. My thanks. Now where to begin? First things first, what kind of phenomena did the ancients encounter as the final days drew nigh? The complete destabilization of creation magics, primals of unrivaled power, summoned from the ether, the worst kind of phenomena you can imagine. Yes, the unfolding catastrophe wrought havoc on all manner of life. The chaos extended to the ancients themselves, causing their powers of creation to spiral out of control. Fear and despair manifested in terrible, tangible fashion. Meteors raining from the sky, fires erupting from the ground, indescribable abominations prowling the streets. That more or less aligns with my understanding. If only the arts of creation had survived until the present day, we might have had something substantial to analyze. To the best of our knowledge, however, those techniques were not preserved or passed on. Stola surmises that the closest known magic is that of the summoning rituals promulgated by the Ascians. Was there aught else of note which heralded the approach of the final days? The entire star was engulfed in disaster all at once. They say it began with the keening sound from the land itself. Alphino can answer this one. Ah yes, the Amarotines spoke of it, didn't they? We never did hear this sound ourselves. Of course, thrust as we were into the midst of the madness. But it seems that each and every one of the catastrophes which preceded catastrophes was preceded by this ominous noise. Eventually it resounded all across the star, and not even Amarot was spared. So the ground was crying out, you say? To be considered the harbinger of doom, it must have been quite distinctive and probably quite loud. I'll have to speak with one of Numenon's mammoths and ask after any books which make mention of such a sound. Last but not least, would you describe how the ancients sought to quell this unprecedented calamity? What definitive action did they take? They summoned Zodiac, they summoned Hydaelyn, they knocked Dalamud from the sky. They summoned Zodiac. Yes, with Elidibus serving as his heart, so many gave themselves in sacrifice to bring him into being. We do not know exactly how Zodiac brought salvation to the star, only that by his godlike will were the laws of nature set aright. Then, once the balance was redressed, the ancients offered up a further sacrifice to heal the ravages of the final days. Lives sprouted anew, and it was these fledgling souls they intended to render unto Zodiac a trade that would have allowed them to resurrect the shades of loved ones absorbed by the primal. Ooh, I needed to yawn there. Or might have had Vana and her fellows not manifested their opposition in the form of Hydaelyn. Thank you, both of you, for the detailed review. I feel much more confident now in my understanding of events. With all that freshly in mind, it does make me wonder what the Telophori truly mean when they speak of bringing back the final days. We've seen what they're doing with those towers of theirs. Is forcing people to summon primals a kind of catalyst? Are they attempting to mirror the conditions caused by unstable creation magics? Or are they simply using the final days as a figure of speech? A convenient metaphor for the scale of destruction they plan to unleash? But this is just pointless conjecture at this stage. Let us return our attention to the forum, shall we? Well, the towers, with the arrival of the towers, the very land itself seemed to be drained of ether, being sapped of ether, like everywhere. So, and yet, while the lunar primals are summoned with the knowledge, by abducted people, they're summoned with the purpose of, the glory be to Garlemald aspect. So, could the towers oh good heavens, I think I figured it out. Okay, so the towers are sapping the land of ether, then using that ether to inflict pain on the abductees that are imprisoned within the towers, who then, praying for deliverance, conjure forth a primal, and I guess the tower also adjusts the form in which the primal takes. That's pretty insidious. We should keep an eye out for Stola, but 'tis time we began studying these research papers. Many forum members are also researchers or professors. If they know aught of the final days, then that knowledge might suffice in their writing. That is my hope, anyway. Any more dialogue? Nope. What was that last one? It is really comforting to have all these dedicated assistants on hand right then. Enough chatting, more reading. I'm the last, am I? Well, my extended search of the Archon stacks produced one or two possibly useful books, but it wouldn't get your hopes up. If you recall, Orionji learned of the source's reflections from the Garoon oracles for its potential to cause panic and confusion that tome was deemed apocrypha and sealed away in the Great Google Library. 'Tis even less likely that knowledge of the unsundered world, not to mention the horrors of the final days, would be left tis even less likely that knowledge of the unsundered world, not to mention the horrors of the final days, would be left sitting on a shelf for any curious scholar to find. It stands to reason then that my colleagues, be they archons or counselors, should perforce be largely ignorant of the subject. Yet when you confronted Master Fortunal with knowledge of the Telophori and their machinations, he scoffed at the suggestion that they posed a threat. He seemed adamant that the Forum would know if the final days were truly upon us, which only supports the conclusion that whatever privileged wisdom is guiding the Forum's behavior, it is being kept secret from the rest of the nation. Not that I mean to excuse myself from reading duty. Whether they contain mention of the final days or no, these books could yet hold something of value. You weren't thinking of leaving, were you? There's plenty of work for everyone. Oh no, more reading. Not more. I mean, I read all of this text dialogue. You labor for what feels like an age as a Stola's research assistant. Oh dear. I found naught of interest so far. I think Estola might be right about not getting our hopes up. Your efforts to gain Grahatia's attention go unnoticed. He appears to be lost in his reading. Oh, did she take a nap? Rude. Thank you for your help, but I think I can manage with the rest without your assistance. If I were you, I'd steal a few moments quiet for myself. Okay, got a few winks then. Moving on. Oh dear, you look exhausted. But what about your studies? Were you able to find any books on the subjects I mentioned? A few. Then the day was well spent. Should you wish to read them again, a mammoth at the reference desk will point you in the right direction. For the moment, though, I suggest you take a well-deserved rest. We might be occupied with our research for quite some time. Well, I did find one paper focused on the world before the advent of the first temporal calamity, but it reads more like a work of fanciful fiction than an actual academic supposition. Really? A seat at the last stand. Alizé appears in desperate need of a study break. Ready for a tea break, Myrokos? I know I am. Honestly, my neck and shoulders are going to calcify if I don't stretch my legs and walk around for a bit. You know the last stand down in the harbor, don't you? Come and meet me near the outside tables. I'll treat you to their coffee. It's quite good. I'll use the Ethernet. As busy as ever, I see. How very Charlian that no other gourmet cafe has sprung up to compete for customers. Actually, this crowd gives me an idea. Before we place an order, why don't we ask a few questions and gauge the mood of the city? I'm interested to hear what the average citizen has to say about the Telophori. We might even learn something new. Worth a try, don't you think? Alize is now accompanying you. Keep her at your side in order to proceed with quest objectives. All this stuff. What is it? Can a man not enjoy a moment of private respite? If you're looking to share a table, then I respectfully request that you look elsewhere. You misunderstand, sir. We were simply wondering if you knew of the Telophori. These enemies of peace have promised an end to all we hold dear and... Wait, you're that House Livier girl, aren't you? And this man with you is obviously a foreigner. I'd heard you were disowned for helping outsiders indulge their barbaric whims, and here you are giving truth to the rumor. I'll thank you to leave me be. I've naught to say to the likes of you. Well, I must apologize. 'Twas foolish of me to expect an ounce of civility from one so enlightened. Come, Myrokos. Someone here at the cafe should be willing to speak with us. Let's ask around. Yes, I don't believe I've had the pleasure. Pray excuse the interruption. Excuse the interruption, but we were hoping you might share your thoughts on the Telophori and their unconscionable plans. My goodness, if it isn't the young Miss Livier. My apologies, but I work in the offices of the farm, and if word reached Master Froshner that I was helping you... I see. We're sorry to have bothered you. Well, the customers have been decidedly uncooperative. Maybe the staff would be more willing to answer our questions. Welcome, sir. What can I offer you today? Wait, is that Mistress Alize there? My word, how long has it been? Far too long. Meet Dickon, the owner of the Last Stand. I used to frequent his cafe on occasion in between lessons at the studio. That seems like an age ago now. I remember hearing that you and Master Alphino had set sail for Eorzea. But then you never came back. Lately there's been gossip about your father disowning the pair of you. Everything alright at home? It's complicated, and I hadn't expected complete strangers to be so familiar with our situation quite so quickly. Everyone has an opinion, it seems. Well, it is House Livier. No matter how discreet Master Portioner may have been, news of your family's doings never stays a secret for long. Things being what they are, what brings you back to the city now of all times? We have questions and only Charlene has answers. Tell me, Master Dekon, have you heard anything about an apocalypse called the Final Days? What, like the end of the world? Nothing like that, I'm afraid. And that's what you're here to find, information on this apocalypse? Yes, whatever we can learn. Unfortunately, your patrons appear to be unwilling to speak to me. I wish there was more I could do to help. But maybe there is. You're a visitor to Charlene, aren't you? Then few will know your face. We should be able to pass you off as a server with none the wiser. We just finished preparing a few orders, strike up some friendly conversation while you're setting down the food, and you might just get the answers you're looking for. Not a bad idea. I hate to ask, but what do you think? That's the spirit. Pay attention now and I'll explain where each of these dishes needs to go. The tea set is for the chatty group sitting by the water's edge. The omelet is for one of our regulars, a Highlander by the name of Gizla. She's sitting at an outside table with a friend of hers. Behind them, you should see a Mikote gentleman. He ordered the oven-baked lobster. Got all that? If you're not sure, just ask and I'll explain again. Good luck. Let's see, what was the first one? The tea set goes to the group by the water. Omelet for Gizla. And the lobster for the Mikote man. I think you'll be better off if I stay here out of sight. Find out what you can, and there'll be a hot cup of coffee waiting for you. Oh, my tea set. How lovely, thank you. The Talafa who? I'm sorry, I have never heard of them, or the Final Days. My friends and I are somewhat uninformed when it comes to current events. Now, if you wanted to hear about ritual arcane practices of the 6th Astral Era, common or esoteric, then I'd be happy to talk your ear off. The omelet? Ah, finally! 2, 4, 6, 8. Let's dig in, no time to waste. What? The Telophory? Ah yes, I remember seeing the name in the latest Gazette. That and some grand claim about the end of days. Same old senseless warmongering. When will these fools grow tired of spilling each other's blood? Best stay out of it, I say. The Forum made the right choice, and I fully support our decision to remain neutral. Not much help there. At last, the oven-baked lobster is mine. You have no idea how long I scrimped and saved and suffered to afford this heavenly dish. The final days? This is the first I've heard of it. Although that would explain why my friend has been rushed off his feet. It must be a busy time to be a gleaner. You don't know what a gleaner is? They're collectors of a sort, travel the world procuring things that we haven't got here in Charlene, priceless books, unusual live specimens, and so forth. So named for those folk who trail after the reapers in the fields, picking up every grain which was missed. By all accounts, gleaning is a most meticulous and demanding profession. If those Telophori make good on their audacious threats, then many uncatalogued rarities could be lost forever. Why else would the gleaners be buzzing about in such a frenzy here? Watch the harbor and you'll see what I mean. They're carting loads in from the docks all day. It's never been this hectic before, not like this. Ah. Any trouble with the customers? Were you able to get anyone talking? Interesting. They seem unaware of the final days, aside from whatever vague news the Gazettes are printing. Even Dickon had nothing to offer, and he's the best source of gossip in the city. If the farm does have secret knowledge, then they've done an impressive job of ensuring no one whispers it in the wrong ear. In any case, thank you for playing the part so well. That cup of coffee I promised. Well, here, that cup of coffee I promised. And though you can't see it, I do have my Charlene mug. No liquid in it, but I do have my Charlene mug. From the FanFest merch. But let's get our drink. Let's enjoy our drinks somewhere else, shall we? Maybe behind the peristyle, away from the gossips and their wagging tongues. Ah, yes, the mug. It's here in game 2. I have this mug from the FanFest merch pre-orders. I'm so glad I spent the money and got it. Oh, and if you have two fat cats, they look at each other instantly. Oh. Okay. Yes, this should do nicely. Out of the wind and out of sight.
When our father disowned us, I couldn't believe what was happening. It wasn't until much later that his words began to sink in, that I began to feel the weight of what it meant. Do you remember when the decision was made to come to Sharlayan? Grahas said that the Forum was determined to keep us in the dark, and that Father's venomous performance was part of that strategy, to keep us at arm's length. Perhaps it was. Father argued with Grandfather on many occasions, but never with such dismissive contempt. And when he demanded what justifies the sacrifices we make in war, I honestly didn't know what to say. Neither did Alpha know, I know, but never for one moment did I believe we had made the wrong choice. So all I could do was fume silently. It was only afterwards that I realized how childish I had been, how being stubborn and self-righteous must run in the family. If I could have just mustered a civil response, then things might have turned out differently.
Probably not. And those are gleaners. Hauling a lot of crates.
They must be ferrying goods to Labyrinthos.
Labo what now?
A vast complex beneath the island. Sharlayan is famous for archiving knowledge from around the world. Well, that knowledge is not preserved exclusively in dusty tomes and desiccated samples. Our living library, comprised of all manner of flora and fauna, is housed and studied within that underground facility. Still, that did seem to be an unusually large shipment. When I lived here, it was rare to even see such cargo transported by boat. Wait! Didn't you hear something in the last stand about the gleaners coming and going more than usual? Well, I think they're the ones we saw manning those boats. And gleaners answer to the Forum. If the appearance of the Telophoroi prompted this sudden burst of activity, then Labyrinthos may hold a clue as to what the Forum is planning.
Interesting. It's 2 hours and 44 minutes. And they're staring at one another. The fat cats. This feels like a good break point for me, so I think I'll call it a quits here. With the next part, we will pick up with the journey into Labyrinthos. If you liked what you saw at any point, please like, share, and subscribe on YouTube. Give me a follow on Twitch. Hit the notification bells. These things may be a small thing for you, but they mean the world for my channels, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. With that, I shall see you anon, friends.